The following is from the Melodramatics podcast, where we discuss all things theatre and drama. So if you like theatre, stage, drama, films, check us out on Spotify, YouTube, and all the other streaming platforms that I'm not going to go through.
Oh no, it's the burning question.
So this is the burning question, where we ask different questions about theatre and try to get different responses. This week's question is it okay for an actor to play a character from another race? Now, before you guys answer, I put this question on social media, and we got a lot of responses. So I normally only say 5 responses, and I'm going to keep it that way. But in future, I might change it because we got over 250 responses to this one, and I can't put them all in. But Millie McCaff says, if the role is written for an actor of a specific race, example being Hairspray, I say no, it's not okay. But if it isn't specified, then it's fine. So I imagine she's sort of like talking about like Shakespeare, how they don't really sort of, like some of his plays they don't specify, so I imagine it's okay. The Producers as well would be a play that I would imagine pretty multicultural across. Kristen Destiny Cardigan says, depends on the production, as long as there isn't yellowface, blackface, or any of those faces involved, and as long as it's not offensive to the race, I don't think it matters. Natasha Michelle Pincini says, no, and before you all cite Hamilton, those parts were written with the intention that the only white person be the King George. Cara Jones says, it depends if the production is colorblind or not caring about race. If it's not, then it's okay, but if they are colorblind casting, it's fine. And Zach Bergeris says, I personally think as long as the race is not specified or essential to the story, then any race can portray any character. So what are your thoughts, Lauren?
I definitely agree that if it's written for a specific race, then you probably shouldn't. But there are a lot of roles that are not, their race isn't specified, or if it is written that way, it's not necessarily important to the story. Yeah, it's a tough one.
I had a thought. I think it depends on the sort of material. And when I was thinking about this, I used an example that wasn't a play, but I think I can use one now. There's an Australian play called Stolen. It's about the stolen generation of from the Aboriginals. And if I was going to take that to another country, let's say I took it to America, yeah, where there primarily aren't many Aboriginals, I would probably cast someone...
Native Americans?
Yeah, Native American or African, because I feel that they could possibly relate more to the themes and the story than someone who is white.
I feel like a story like that, it's really inappropriate to have white people play those characters, though.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think...
Because of the history of the Indigenous people in Australia, I just feel like...
yeah, but I think depending on how you direct it, you could direct it from the Aboriginals' point of view, using white characters to maybe hit home a bit more with people who are a bit more race inclined. So, because there's a lot of people out there that are, very racist and, see people with different skin color as lesser. So it all depends on your direction. Like, if you're going to tell the story as it is, 100%, cast people of the same ethnicity. But there's a few films out there that do this. I forgot the name of one, but it tells the story of the story of black slavery told from a white perspective, where the whites are actually the ones enslaved. I forgot what it's called, but I reckon films and plays like that are very interesting because they're tailored to a specific kind of audience that usually would look over something like this just because the main characters are black. Yeah. But I do fully agree that, you should cast people. You got to cast the best actor for the job, of course, but saying that as well, like, I've cast a lot of actors in the past, and I usually don't go via race. I mean, if an actor's the best, fantastic. But I mean, at the same time, you wouldn't cast a male to play a female role, you know. So you wouldn't cast a white person to play a black role. So you've also got to look at the best actor that fits the sort of the role that you've put across. Yeah. Saying that though, an example which I do draw up is the film Tropic Thunder. Have you guys seen that?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite films.
Yeah. So I draw up that film because in recent times, now I'm gonna sound my age here, but a lot of Gen Zs have picked up on it for the fact that Robert Downey Jr. Is in blackface. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because a lot of the Gen Zs are like, oh, this is disgusting, how could this happen, yada yada yada.
Yeah,
They're taking it for
that's
what
the joke in the film.
Yeah, they're taking it for what it is, but the whole thing of Robert Downey Jr. in blackface is the fact that, you know, we're joking at this, that yeah, this is a shit thing that Hollywood does. You know, we have fantastic black actors out there that are even in the film, like you've got the guy who plays the rapper, I forgot his name, who's black. He's a good actor, but they cast this Australian, this blonde, blue-eyed Australian to play this black guy.
Yeah.
So that's the joke. I mean, I think, like, I'm speaking from a position of privilege, of white privilege, because yes, I am Caucasian, and yes, my family is Caucasian, but I feel like blackface and yellowface can be done, but only if you're making fun of the thing itself.
Yeah.
You're not for it.
See, I'll say, like, something that might be an unpopular opinion. I think that with plays where they show different races being oppressed, it's okay for people of different races to play those parts, as long as they're not white. Because I don't think that white people have the right to play characters of different races that are oppressed by white people or by systems created by white people.
Yeah, no. Another example I want to bring up as well. Oh, look, Dia has opinions. How crazy is that? Is the Hollywood film of Ghost in the Shell. So the backlash with that was a lot of people deemed it to be, you know, whitewashing because the character is white. Now, you speak to a lot of Asian communities and they love the film. They think it's fantastic. They really do. And see, the reason that I am in agreement with these people is because the whole idea of Ghost in the Shell is the character is a shell. It's not an actual person. It's sort of a cyborg, you know. So the character herself is Asian, as we see by her visiting her Asian mother, but she's placed in this shell, which is Caucasian, which is not her, if that makes sense. So why would they have the shell Asian? These people are evil, you know. You gotta fit race in the world. Like, another example of this is 12 Years a Slave. Fantastic film. I absolutely love it. And the thing with that is, obviously, you've got to cast a lot of black actors to play the black slaves. You know, you're not going to cast white people, and vice versa. You're not going to cast black people to play the slave owners. You got to stay true to the story, unfortunately. And, you know, as shit as it is, that is our history. We had slavery all throughout the world. And this film is fantastic because it brought a lot of sort of media to these fantastic black actors, like God, I can't pronounce her name. Nupita? I forgot her name. She's the Nupita Nyong'o. Yeah, she plays the favored sort of slave in that film, and that film sort of like boosted her up to Hollywood. Now she's in like films like Us and Little Monsters and Black Panther, and she's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, no, I fully think that, you know, you should stick, like Lauren said, actors should be cast based on the character's ethnicity, unless of course you are having a satirical sort of look at the problem at hand.
Yeah. Lauren, any more thoughts on that?
Not really, other than obviously you've got to think about the talent of the actor as well. So, like, at the end of the day, you're choosing who's best for the part. But I think you shouldn't. Yeah, if a character is specifically a character of color and you're casting someone white just because they're more talented, I feel like that's inappropriate.
Can I just make another point as well? One thing that we do have to look at when writing as well is racist stereotypes. So you look at a lot of films that were made in like the 60s and onwards, the bad guys are Russians, or before that the bad guys are Germans, and now you look at it and the bad guys are often Middle Eastern. So
yeah, I was gonna say they sort of come back to Russia again, haven't they?
Yeah. So like, I mean,
in the 2000s, 2010, let's be fair, it was sort of like Middle Eastern terrorist group. Now it's sort of come back to Russia with with Putin and all that.
Yeah, no, modern cinema does, like, life reflects art, art reflects life. Like, we do sort of look at villains in our current day and age and take examples of them. And I think that's something that a lot of screenwriters and playwrights really need to look out for, is the fact that they need to watch their racist stereotypes, because if you write someone as a Middle Eastern terrorist, then, you're subjecting Middle Eastern actors to that kind of stereotype, which I think is the main problem with a lot of creative industries these days, is that they do stereotype the villains and the bad guys, which makes it harder for actors of that ethnicity to find actual good work.
Oh shit, Lauren, tell them about was it General? What was his name?
Colonel.
Sorry?
Colonel.
Colonel, yeah.
Yeah.
He was pretty white. And
Oh
tell them
my
about tell them that story.
He's a middle-aged white man, and he goes to us, I've just been getting some headshots for, like, Arabic movies, because I think there's going to be a lot of movies with Arabic terrorists, and I think I look that description, or something like that.
Yeah, see, I'm not cool with that. But I will tell a story I heard many years ago, and it was there was an Indian, Native American, baseball player, and very successful baseball player, went to World War One, got very highly decorated, and when he came back, he decided that he wanted to give Hollywood a try, and to his sort of like shock, most Native Americans were played by white people, sort of like painted to look Native American. And so he dedicated his life to making sure that if there was Native American parts in films, and they'd be played by a Native American, yeah? And he went on to get many people work, and when he died, they decided to like immortalize his story on the screen, and they got Burt Lancaster to play him. And if you guys don't know who Burt Lancaster is, he's one of the whitest men you've ever seen in your life.
Oh god. Yep.
Yeah. I was just thinking of that show Glow, and that kind of brought up that idea of the stereotypes. So with Glow, it's like about wrestling, and they came up with the different characters, and one of the stereotypes was like the person who lives on the doll, and it just happened that the character who was playing that character, she was coloured, and she kind of really explained that, of like the character explained it in the show, like showed her emotions of like, I know it's just a stereotype that I'm playing this, but it's also getting on your emotions as a person, because that's kind of how you're seen in the world, and what is that teaching my children, that I'm kind of playing this character on screen, even though it's a bit satirical, it's still cutting deep.
But in Glow, she's very much owning the character.
She is for a while, but then she realizes it's not great when she's ashamed to tell her son what she's actually doing.
Yeah. And the wrestling is notorious for that. But I'd actually like to do an episode on wrestling in terms of theatre.